All right, everyone. It is Jumbo Shark 19, and I am back at you with another Dokkan battle video. And boy, the response to this has been something else. Let me tell you. Before we dive in here, I want to just get sappy for a moment, and I really do just want to say thank you to everyone that's been supporting me. A lot of my friends, a lot of new people, but basically everyone that's a subscriber on the channel or watches my content. And people on, I always want to just call it Twitter, but X. But either way, I just want to say thank you. None of this would be possible without all the support. And when I posted this morning, right before work, I did not expect to get this much of a response. This actually went pretty. It didn't go viral, obviously, but it went throughout the community. I feel like it got a good chunk. 7,311 views. This is fairly large, especially for me. I'm just a small account. So I just want to say thanks, and I really appreciate the support. And when I saw how many people responded, I was just blown away. I'm like, whoa, I was hoping just for at least a couple people to respond so I could have enough to make a video. But the response has been just blown me out of the water. Just completely unexpected, and I really appreciate it. So thanks you to those that are watching the video now and in the future and in the past, and I just really appreciate it. So thank you very much. So now to get into the video. I posted this morning, and I said, it says 9:51 a.m., but when I posted this, it was that time is not correct. It was definitely way earlier in the morning. And I posted this morning, and I asked community discussion, and I'm just so man, I'm so upset with myself that I made so many mistakes in this tweet, but alas, it is what it is. Community discussion. What is everyone's opinion on the 2024 worldwide celebration so far? This will be used for video, and I really wanted to get a reaction on the first part of the worldwide because I've been seeing a lot of reactions and they've been I really wish I could sit here and say they've been varied, but I want to say that even before this thread, the reactions that I was seeing were not favorable. A lot of people are not happy, and I think I understand some of it, but I'm hoping this thread will have a lot of opinions and a lot of viewpoints because right now, before diving into this, it does seem like people do like the characters a lot, and that they hit on the characters and the kits. But well, I say that, but aside from Easy A Broly, but it seems like a lot of people, including myself in this as well, are definitely a little upset over the lack of Easy A so far. It does feel a little light. And then the content. People are saying that there's a lack of content. Now, I don't know if I agree so far. But we're gonna see. We're gonna see what people say, and that's what matters most. Is because this is a community discussion, not a Jumbo Shark tells his opinion discussion all the way, right? I want to see what you guys are saying, and then my opinion kind of I'll put it here and there, depending. So let's just hop right in. We got Mr. Tux 1588 coming in, and he says, characters are amazing. In terms of content, it lacks, but hopefully part two and three can come back. And that's the thing I think that's important to remember here is that there is still a part two and a part three. And so I think they've got some things cooking. I think there's going to be a lot more content coming. It's just for some reason it's a little tiny dry right now, just a little bit dry. But I do think there's more content coming. Our boy Vector, GTR Vector, says, I think it's overall quite good, but that is heavily carried by the headliner units. I agree there. Absolutely. The units are just so good and hype this year. They are some of the funnest, I think he meant funnest here, units released in a minute. And I agree. I mean, if you just look at the mechanics of them, I mean, Broly's a tank that can do massive damage. And then the trio unit, the Super Saiyan trio, I mean, the amount of fun you can have with them is seemingly endless right now because of how many units they revived. So I absolutely agree with that. Pretty much everything else is kind of asked. The new fights so far have been very uninteresting. The week of Int Broly is pretty brutal. That's I think this is what's causing a lot of problems. I think if you had to nail it down to one point, having a mid Easy A release is the only, and I put this in air quotes, content because I don't consider Easy A's content myself. I think whatever. I really don't think they're content by themselves. Um, But having a mid EZA definitely makes everything else feel a lot drier. So I'm definitely picking up what Vector's putting down here, and I definitely agree with him. I think. Proton, this is awesome. Thank you, Proton, for responding, and Vector and Tux and everyone else so far. This is awesome. I think it's been good so far with a good amount of content, and I'm sure it will get better next week. And that's the thing is like even though I do have some criticisms overall, um, I do think that it has been pretty good, and I think part of it, maybe in my opinion, is a little warped because as a content creator, and I've just been so busy that I still have some content left over from. I think I've pretty much finished the ninth anniversary content. I think it's just some of the tech UI stuff that came out, which I guess is part of the anniversary. I don't know. Is tech UI stuff considered part of the ninth anniversary? I guess so. So I guess in that sense, I do have some ninth anniversary content left over, and so for me, it's been busy. I just haven't been able to get it all done. But I realize that, and I separate it by like, okay, other people that aren't content creators and just can play whenever, um, maybe have more free time. I try to look at it from their point of view as well. And right now, there's just nothing to really do. If you've already beaten all the previous events, I mean, I think there's a wide variety right now. There's a lot of Blue Zone, but I think just Int Broly being so mid, just so disappointing that I think it's just put a sour taste in people's mouths. And I don't know why they do this, but whenever they seem to release Easy A's, it's like that they consider, even though I don't consider Easy A's content, it's very clear that Dokkan does. And they I think they really believe that just dropping an Easy A is good enough for a week. And I don't think that's the case. I really think they need to drop a stage or something so that way people are more motivated to use them, and it kind of helps separate a little bit more and drop the content. I don't know. I think Dokkan has had a problem with the way they release content, and I just don't understand why. Like it seems to me pretty simple. You just break it up evenly for the most part. But they like to front load it. They like to front load the part one, and then the middle of part one it usually ends up pretty dry. But see, if you look at last year, I'm just thinking about last year. Um, the multitude of easy A's that we got, and they were all pretty good. Um, that was a lot. There was a lot of different characters to try out, but again, since it's just Broly by himself and he's so mid, I think it really just highlights that fact, and it just makes it seem a lot worse than it is. Because overall, if you right now, if you ask me, Shark, what is your opinion on the worldwide download celebration 2024? Even after reading, with these first few comments, I would still say it's pretty good overall. I would say it's better than last year, easily so far. And we still have a lot more to go. The Sweet Bro 27, my boy, a slow start, but the quality of the content is probably higher than the other years. Agreed, 100%. The headliners are the most unique and fun to use out of recent worldwide download celebration units. Agreed. The new stages are interesting, if a little underwhelming in the difficulty department. Great free to play grindable stuff. Okay, I want to start with. Let's just start here. The great free to play grindable stuff, I agree. I think Paragus has some great animations. I think he's actually a pretty damn good unit overall. And so that's good to see because I think the free to play units have been lacking. I think in big celebrations recently, the past few years, the free to play units have been really not very good. We had the year six anniversary, which had LR Roshi, who was like immediately one of the best units, honestly, in the game at the time, like crazy. And for some reason, after that, like free to play units have just been mid, even by free to play unit standards. Even with a heavy handicap, like it's hard to say that they're any good. So yeah. And then I do want to comment on a little underwhelming in the difficulty department. I can see that, but this is a tough one because I don't think every celebration needs to have a new hard event, like the new hardest event. It's okay if some are a little easier. Now, that being said, when the events are short, which the new memorable battles or the new Goku and Broly fight, the problem with those is that they're just short. They're just one phase fights. And the thing is I do think it's important to have a variety of content, but when you have a one phase fight, it immediately gets rid of nuking leaders. So that limits a lot of your roster because you can't bring units that maybe you'd want to bring and test out. And that's no fun. Limiting units is no fun. So yeah, I don't know. It's an entry point, and that seems to be a common theme so far. Is the events that have come out haven't been that interesting. Oh, I thought I liked all these already. DBC Archie, the homie, says should have us battling against JP like the good old days. Seems kind of meh the way they do it now. Okay, that's a huge part, right? We used to have competitions. We used to have different characters, different units for JP and global, depending on what we did. So, excuse me. I agree with that. Actually, I completely forgot about that. I don't know why we're not having some competition missions like we have in the past. That's really strange. That's a good point. MIA for sure. Having competition cards used to be really fun. Who would get which unit being really cool. Also needed more missions this time around. Agreed. See, that's the thing. The easiest way for them to add content is just to add missions. And they were doing really good with that. They were really doing good adding missions to different events, it felt like. But then all of a sudden, this part one, where are the missions? Where's the missions at? I agree with that. And where's the competition cards? That's weird. I don't understand. They could have easily just had one be Broly or Parag. They could have had one be Broly and one be Goku. I mean, and it's not like they're any good anyway. They're never usable. I don't understand. I don't know. DBC Link 2000. It's fine. My issue is just that there's not a whole lot of content, and I'm someone who usually takes my time with new content. Okay, so here's Link even saying, and that's the thing. I'm glad he prefaced this, or not prefaced, but I'm glad he really said this because a lot of times people say there's no content, but it's because they rush through it all. And, just rushing through all the content the day it drops, I mean, yeah, of course there's not going to be anything else. You just rush through it all, right? So him saying that, like, listen, I'm one of those people that takes his time, and even I'm finding it hard without a lot of content. So, that seems to be a prevailing theme. Um, Celtic Link, the homie. In reality, there's been a decent amount of content. Is it the most ever for a part one? Certainly not, but it's not as bad as people say. There's still plenty to do and plenty more to come. It's hard to judge a celebration before it's over, to be honest. And listen, I completely agree, and I think that's a fair point. And I do, but that's why I did just want to get a peek at how people are feeling right now, because I do think it's important. It's kind of like a little check-in. But in all seriousness, I do agree that it's hard to judge a celebration on a whole because part two could just be packed with content. And it could be too much content. But then I think that brings up the question again of why didn't they separate it better? Um, and I think I'm really with Celtic Link here. I think overall there has been a decent amount of content. I don't know. I'm thinking through my head, and we had the story event, we had some new stages, some hard, difficult content, even though they're not as difficult stages as people were, I guess, expecting. It's still difficult overall. So, and for a lot of people, it's going to be challenging, especially if you didn't pull a new unit. So, I don't know. I don't know. I think I'm leaning a little bit more with Celtic Link here. I do think the content's been all right. Maybe just should be spaced out better. Just they really needed some missions or an event to come out this week with Int Broly. That's the really big mistake, I think. Goku. Hey Goku, how are you doing? Uh, it was great. I think the units are amazing, good kit, and useful for many teams. And that's the thing. I think most people do agree that the units are amazing. Broly and the trio are just simply amazing. Subaru says characters are great, especially the physical trio. Content sucks so far, including the EZA. Wish they'd put discounts because of the sync process. Well, I mean, I think that's going to be a byproduct of the sync, unfortunately. Global players, as a global player, I think we just have to suck it up. All right, we just have to suck it up a little bit. Overall, it's sort of better than last year in a way, but it's just the first week, I guess. Well, it's actually the first 2 weeks, I think, right? And I think that's a good way to look at it. Again, it's like let's see what comes after. Let's see what part two. I agree with you there, Subaru. Right? Pit Fit content is lacking big time. Hopefully, part two drops a ton of stuff. Agree, I agree. I really do hope that part two does drop some more content. I don't think it's lacking as much as people think. I really think Int Broly being such a mid easy A has just really ruined the excitement for people. But that's just my opinion. Mystic, the boy Mystic coming in saying lots of quantity, but there's a big lack of quality. Okay, quantity over quality. Okay, that's a good argument to make. We got lots of new stages with good rewards like the special skill orbs, but the events themselves have been too easy and similar. Only one easy A, which if it's busted is fine, but Broly is mid and there's not any fun to using him. Okay, so Mystic's kind of backing up the point that I've been making a little bit here, which is that, you know what, Int Broly's easy A being mid is really what's causing a lot of problems right now and making it seem worse than it is. And then just overall, like you said, quantity over quality. And I do think there are some legit criticisms with the fight, with how complex the fights have been, just to release two pretty standard one phase fights. Um, I see the criticism. I see the criticism. Super Chow. I say Chow. I'm sorry. It might be Chaos, like Super KO. I'm not sure. I just like to call you Super Chow. But my boy Super Chow, he says it's very good. Golden Trio is overrated and not even top three. Whoa, whoa! He coming out of nowhere. He just said he wanted to throw this on me. He's wanted to say that the Golden Trio is overrated and not even top three. Whoa! I don't know, Super Chow. I think those might be fighting words, my friend. I love the Golden Trio. That's a good nickname for him too. I love the Golden Trio. I don't know. I don't see how you say they're not top three. I just don't. With what they do, their utility, but that's not the video. That's not. You're getting me off track. You're getting me off track. But coming in, shoot, just firing shots. All right. So then we got my boy Tapion. Tapion, I hope you're doing well, my friend. He comes in and he says so far it's decent at best. Do we have some events? Yes. Are they challenging? No. The units are expected. The units as expected are busted. It's just the second week of part one has been dead with nothing to do. And that's a legit criticism. I think they just front loaded the celebration a little too much. They should have. I think an easy solution is one, release a couple other easy A's with Broly. Two, make Broly not be mid. Three, add a couple of missions, events. Like I'm not even saying they have to be new events. Just have missions to old events. Like beat Infinite Dragon Ball History stage whatever with the new teams or something. Just something, right? Or I don't know. I mean, I'm sure a burst mode's coming in part two, but maybe this week was the perfect time for burst mode. I don't know. I mean, I bet we would have had a chain battle. I bet, at least chain battle. Don't get me. Listen, listen, listen. I'm not getting into a chain battle discussion. All I'm going to say is, as a person who was not a fan of chain battle, I know my chain battlers out there, I'm sorry. I was not a fan. But right now, at least it's something to do. At least it's something to talk about. And that's kind of the issue because right now, all people are doing is really fighting over Broly a little bit. Or if they're not fighting over Broly, they're fighting over the celebration, whether it's mid or not. And I think that's a byproduct of people not having anything to do. There's just no missions. There should be some missions where you want to use the new Easy A, and when he sucks, it just kind of sucks the fun out of it. So I see you, Tapion. I agree with what you're saying. My boy Banjo. Hope Banjo's doing well. All right. It would be better if there were more free stones. Of course. Okay. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Anytime there's more free stones, that does make it better for sure. Or if the missions weren't so easy to complete. So here's another comment talking about the difficulty. So a lot of people are not having issues with the new missions. It just felt like last year had so much more things to grind and play around in compared to this year. Well, again, it is only the second week, so I think it's unfair, a little unfair to judge it as a whole. But again, I do see the complaints. I do see the complaints. I hear you, and this week has been a little dry, so it's understandable. I've gotta go faster. If I want to read everybody's comments, I've got to go faster. Okay, we're on Demented Blaze. So we got Demented Blaze so far, it's definitely been a hype celebration, and I've had a lot of fun doing the new content. But the lack of things to do is sad right now. So again, another point for lack of things to do. Like they at least could have given us more team missions for the new Blue Zone. Exactly. They could have just given us Blue Zone missions, not new stages, just some missions to the Blue Zone. I think would have been fine. The lack of easy A's is disappointing. I agree. The lack of easy A's is definitely disappointing. Nova coming in saying everything besides the trio and Broly themselves are average or bad. Int Broly being a lost condition in any future ESBR stages is a giant blow to the celebration as a whole when he's the sole Easy A we've gotten. Okay, another point for backing up that reasoning. I really think the Easy A being so disappointing is really what's put a hindrance, put a negative taste in people's mouths. 2024 Saiyan Day is miles better. Okay, fair. That's fair. Um, hot sieges, hostages. I'm sorry. Amazing characters, unexistent content. I don't think that's fair. Sorry, my headphone likes to turn off when it doesn't have any audio going through it. Unexistent content I don't think is fair. There is some content, it's just not a lot. Underwhelming Easy A, absolutely. So far, one of the most mediocre part ones. I don't know. I'm trying to remember last year, and aside from like a bunch of Easy A's, isn't that really? I don't think it's as bad as people are remembering. It definitely had more Easy A's, of course, but aside from that, I thought it was pretty much the same so far. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look. Lizard coming in. I love the character's versatility and I'm enjoying the new Clash and Challenge missions. So here's just a fan. He's just happy. He says, "Listen, I'm just happy the celebration's on. I'm enjoying the new units. I got to pull them, and so you know what, Lizard? Good for you, man. I'm glad you're having a good time." Coma coming in saying it's okay. Anthony Gaming saying great units, but there's nothing to do. That being said, I think part two will solve most problems with the celebration. Okay, so he's saying part two, just wait for part two. Very fair. Terrible. So Kino fan coming in saying, "Oh my goodness, that name." All right, you got me. But Kino fan coming in saying terrible, terrible. It's just terrible. I don't think that's fair. I'm not with you there. I'm sorry, Kino fan, not with you there. Um, we got Z Guy coming in saying the characters are great. Not gonna lie, I don't have them yet because I've been shafted. Oh, I'm sorry, Z Guy. Here's hoping part two brings you better luck. But I can't lose hope. Also trying to get some LRs that I don't have yet, so bear with me. Okay, okay, fair enough. I mean that's fair. I'm glad you're still. I'm glad you're able to see that the characters are still great even though you didn't pull them because a lot of people would say they suck. I didn't pull the characters, so they suck. So good on you for being able to be like, I know I got the shaft, but they are really good overall. We got Jack saying amazing units, ass EZA, overall mid feelings about it. See, again, I think that EZA being so mid is really what's hampering a lot. Doesn't hit like the cooler movie celebration after coming off the ninth anniversary on Global, which isn't fair really to celebrate, but in comparison, it feels very flat. Fair. Understand. It feels flat. I feel like saying it feels like flat or disappointing isn't quite as bad as saying it's terrible. Like, it's just kind of saying, like, it's not so bad. It's just kind of mid so far. But I really think that could easily change. Um, that could change quickly. Dokkan Dane saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I missed astronaut." So astronaut. Oh my goodness, making me sound like a weeb here. Astronaut. It's completely terrible. Besides, I just don't agree. It's completely terrible. Besides for the new characters, the pity is horrendous. Okay, I'm not a huge gotcha game player aside from this, but my understanding is that it's still a pretty bad pity system. So I think that is on point. Criticizing the pity is rightful. I think. The events are boring subjective. The free to play stones are very minuscule. I don't know how many stones has there been. I think it's been okay. And the EZA is not up to par. Absolutely, it's like they purposely fumbled. I don't think they did it on purpose, but I can see why someone might feel that way. I just think they're really bad at planning things out and separating things and stretching content. And they just never do enough with the missions. Just adding missions to like certain the old events. I don't understand. I don't know. I don't know. So I agree with part of what you're saying, but I don't think it's terrible. Doak and Dane taking amazing headliners and air content over the opposite any day worldwide 23. Okay, so he's saying he's taking he'd rather have really good units and meh content over the opposite. So he'd rather have really good units and mid content instead of really good content and mid units. Okay, understandable. I think so too. I think the units, especially because you're paying money for them most likely. Most people are using money of some sort to get stones to summon for. Stones are worth something. I think the units being good is definitely an aspect that should not be overlooked. Especially because we already have so much content in the game to test the characters. And that's the thing. I do think there has been a lot of content on global the past few months. I mean, it's been such a rush. We have more than enough stages to test units out on. So I guess people, I just, I think it comes down to people not looking at it as old content and not really running it. I think a lot of people don't run older content. Once they beat the stage, they don't really care about beating it again. It's not the newest, hottest thing anymore. I think that's part of what it does. I don't know. I don't know. Just my opinion. It would be awesome if Dokkan let me update my game and let me play. Oh, I'm sorry, Goku Black. Hopefully you get that figured out. Maybe it's your connection. The legendary 2U fan, it's good. People are crying. I'll only say the spacing is kind of bad, and there should have been more easy A's. As for content and stones, Mogs last year. Okay, Mogs, is that a good thing or bad thing? I think that means better. I'm sorry, I'd be like a boomer right now. Mogs, Mogs. I don't Mogs last year. I Is it better than last year? I think I'm gonna take it as it's better than last year. And so he agrees. He's agreeing with what I'm saying right now. Is that it's the spacing, and there should have been more easy A's. Yeah, agreed. The spacing is really bad. Absolutely. I love the trio because they make more people usable at least. Absolutely. Chris says I will fall asleep, so he's that bored. How are we doing? Oh my goodness, there's so many replies, you guys. This is amazing. I'm so happy. I love it. I could just keep going. We're at 25 minutes. Let's just keep going. Blakers Morbin says less content than the last couple years. However, in my opinion, the units more than make up for it. Okay, so he's saying again, quality over quantity. The trio have the perfect design for an infinite number of team builds. Agreed. Bringing back characters who are even mid on release. Oh, agreed. Blakers, I'm totally with you. Nothing you said here is just I disagree with. Excellent response. I really agree with what you're putting down. Absolutely. Um, Voo voo voo. I want to get it right. Voo 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 voo. Voo 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 voo. Vudoken says the headliners are absolutely incredible, and the physical trio especially is maybe the best release in the game's history in terms of fun, in my opinion. The content could be better. It's not like the worst celebration ever material, but it's on the lacking side. Um, yeah, I agree. The headliners so we see you see how we see a common theme is a lot of people are saying that listen, the headliners are really good. It's really just comes down to it just sadly it just comes down to the spacing. I think the events the events are the thing that people have the most issue with, and it is a dead week. So I understand it makes it feel worse than it is when the easy A is mid. We got F Reese. The only thing keeping it from being absolutely terrible is the most recent LRs. So he's saying the LRs are good. That's good. Again, I think saying it's terrible is going a little too far. You either got the units and fun or shafted and bored, no in between. I mean, in reality, that's kind of he's not wrong. Like I'll be honest, I was there. You guys can go watch my disaster summon video when I first summoned for the units and I didn't get them. I was miserable, and I'm like, I don't even want to play this celebration. F this celebration. Throw the celebration in the can. I was so upset after not pulling the new units. And so the people that out there, I totally understand. Like, it's hard to have fun when you don't have the new units. And especially when everyone around you, you see all your friends and people you like and content creators and things like that, so on and so forth. Um, you know, yeah, understandable opinion. Mina says, good characters can't carry lack of content. You grind the new Paragus and the Int Broly easy in a matter of seconds, and the new events are easy except for Broly, which is a shitty mess. So he's critiquing the Broly event, which, I mean, it's only, my understanding is it's only really difficult if you bring a Goku. So I can understand, I guess, where it's like kind of like a gimmicky event. So that's interesting. I haven't seen critique of that yet. So that's interesting. That's new. Um, that's an interesting point. Good characters can't carry a lack of content. I don't know. Some people are saying otherwise, though. Some people are saying they would rather have the characters than the content. I don't know. It's a really good. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that opinion, and I think it's a fair one to have. And it brings up a good point, right? Quantity over quality, or quality over quantity. I think you could make arguments for both. I think you can make a stronger argument for one over the other, but either way, I think you can make a strong argument for both. Uh, Monarch Kema coming in. I'm sorry, Monarch. Oh, Monarch MMA. It's Monarch MMA. I'm sorry. Monarch MMA coming in saying this shit has been ass. So he's just coming in from the top rope saying, "Hey, this shit's been ass." You know what? You're totally entitled to your opinion. That's perfectly fine. Frying pan, just literally a frying pan. Um, if it weren't for the SS Trio being the best wankers ever, I love that. The best wankers ever. Then there actually would be nothing to do in that entire celebration. Oh, I just don't agree. I think that's just taking it too far. It is a genuine shit worldwide celebration up until now, and the good kids of the headliners is the only good thing. I just think it's too harsh. I think it's a little too harsh. Blood Raven coming in saying, objectively speaking, there is less content in this part one than 2023 and 2022. That sucks. But see, what are we missing? I'm trying to think back. I mean, my memory. Don't get me wrong. My memory. I'm not about to sit here and say I have a good memory. I don't. I don't. My ADHD riddled brain can barely remember what I did today. But I'm really trying to think back, and so far the only thing that sticks out to me about last year is just we had more easy A's. But I feel like the missions were pretty much the same in content. I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to see a real comparison. I really don't think it's as bad as you're saying. As people are saying. Steezy coming in, boring and bland. Got the new units and some challenges, the dailies, and haven't really played since there needs to be more content, especially dropping new units. Here soon too. Nobody's gonna have the stones for it if you're free to play, and that's a really good opinion. Is on global especially, not having enough stones, and they did a poor job. Like we lost out on a massive amount of stones, free to play stones from Battlefield for them skipping battlefields, for instance. So yeah, yeah, no, that is a good point about the stones. Great characters with clean animations, a bit low on quantity of content. Anyway, the events have been interesting and different. Nothing to say about it. Okay, yep, not bad. Pow, oh, that was Otaku Gamey saying that. Pow, the saga of 30 years of insanity, saying needed more easy A's and more challenges of all kinds. I am coping if they threw all the stuff for part two. Okay, so they're saying, um, Pow is saying, I'm sorry, I meant to say, anyway, I just am trying to say that I think what they mean is that if part two has a lot of content, then they're not, they shouldn't complain about part one. Okay, okay. I think I'm understanding that right. Greninja 2009 saying global player went all in, was doing okay until worldwide celebration. I arrived with fucking 3,500 stones free to play, and 1 month after the release of the Beast, Broly is better. Taking a break for now. I disagree. I disagree that I think Beast is absolutely better than Broly. Um, and I don't think it's that close. Like Broly is really good. Don't get me wrong. Um, and if you like Broly better, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I'm gonna make that clear. But I don't think I think Beast is absolutely better. So I don't know if you're upset that you think Broly's better. I mean, I think most people would agree Beast is better. So I'm not sure um if you're saying you got shafted or if you went all in on the anniversary and had no stones for worldwide. So I'm sorry, I'm just not quite understanding. Rappy549 coming in saying amazing. Thanks to the SS Trio Broly movie, they brought back units that even need an easy A. And it's been a long time since they released a new LR Super Saiyan Broly, so he's saying it's good because of the units. Absolutely. Hyper Whirl, it's cheeks. I love that phrase. It's cheeks. Um, okay, we're almost done. We're almost done. It's cheeks. Literally zero content. The single EZA sucks, and it feels like the rates on the new banners are lower. Well, that's not true. They definitely would have to advertise it if they were lower. They could get in big time trouble. So we know that's not true. And again, I just don't think it's fair saying zero content. I do think there has been some content, just not maybe not enough, and not spread out quite enough either. The worst celebration by far. I just can't agree. Content wise, character picks, stones. Yeah, the worst celebration objectively. I mean, I can understand. Listen, I'm not a huge fan of the Universal Survival Saga, so anytime those units come out, I'm kind of like, mid celebration for me. So I can understand if you're not a big, Broly fan or a movie fan. This celebration would feel a little down in that regard. So it's kind of hard to argue with that because that's just a totally subjective opinion. Understandable. Ryokan coming in saying, I think we could have gotten a bit of content considering we only got one EZA for part one. He sucks on top of that. New events are cool, but too short and not difficult in my opinion. Solid 7 out of 10 right now. I I don't think that's a bad rating. I think saying it's a 7 out of 10 right now, based on what we've gotten, I think 7 out of 10 is I don't feel like that's bad. You probably could say 8, but I think seven's not a bad rating. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. What would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 10? How would you rate the celebration so far? Let me know down below, you guys. Dr. Dust coming in saying, so far it doesn't feel great. They released a couple of stages that can be challenging alongside a great easy A and a mid one. Yeah, Turles' easy A is really good. That's why Int Broly, I think they were afraid. I think they were afraid of making Int Broly too good. I know it will get better, but right now it's boring. Okay, so he's even admitting, Dr. Dust is even admitting, like, hey, you know what? It might come back with part 2 and 3 having a lot of content, But right now it is a little boring. So fair enough, fair enough. Pla coming in saying I hate this piece of shit campaign. This is drier than my ass shitting out a Popeye's biscuit. Well, you know what? That's hilarious. That's hilarious. I hate this piece of shit campaign. This is drier than my ass shitting out a Popeye's biscuit. I'm just gonna leave that one as is. Well said. I mean, just I'm not saying I like agree. I just think it's well said. I love it. CD saying terrible, just like last year. Terrible. It's terrible. Staith. Oh, the homie Staith. I almost didn't recognize you with your new little logo here, your new icon. People are saying this celebration has been dry, but they just don't trust the process. Like last year, we got a good EZA and a mid EZA. Turles and Zamasu being the good ones, Broly and Trunks being the mid ones. Yeah, we don't have many difficult events as last year because they might save them for part two. Also, this year's units won't age out as quickly as the previous ones due to the fact their kit is just perfect. Part two is going to be stacked, and I take that as like the trust sign. Like, just trust. Have faith. And I'm with Staith here. I think part two is going to make part one look like a lot better. Nidosphere says, what campaign? Zeusidiv. I think that's Zeus IDV. Shit is boring. Monkey D. Luffy. Or it's Luffy, right? It's Luffy, Monkey D. Luffy. I always say it wrong. I'm always wrong. Let me like all these real quick. The worst worldwide down celebration ever as far as content. I disagree. This is supposed to be one of the biggest celebrations of the year, yes, and the game is dead. Right now it kind of is. It kind of is right now. I agree, and it is a big celebration. It's supposed to be the biggest celebration. And this comes at a time when global players have no stones to summon after the barrage of stuff we got for the sync. And I think that's leaving a bad taste in global players' mouth, is that they had less stones than ever to summon with. And if you're missing out the units, the celebration is gonna look mid in comparison. Seventh is saying pity system is only for big whales. Agreed. I speak as a dolphin who puts about 500 to 1,000 stones on a banner that I'm interested in plus tickets. That's kind of where I'm at too. That's I'm agree. I think I agree with him, and that's kind of where I'm at in terms of you have to spend a lot. The pity is a lot. And I also consider myself a dolphin, although I don't think I go that much into every banner. So maybe I don't know what I'm considered then. The new content just isn't fun because it's easy and forgettable. The EZA straight sucks. I don't count Turles since he's not part of the theme, but he's part of the celebration. He was part of the countdown celebration, so he is. Well, I mean, and then again, like I said, I don't even count EZAs as content really. I just don't think dropping a 30 EZA stage is not content, and just making a unit better. The content is what the stuff you can actually use it in. That's my argument. PP next OP, not hyped and skipping. I can't wait for till February for the units, honestly. So you're just not hyped, understandable. If you're just not a fan, you're just not a fan. Happy Grunt from Madness Combat says mid. Chicote Definido says the content has been very poorly distributed. That's yes, a lot of people have been saying this. 2 weeks with content and one without instead of having distributed that content. I think this really. I'm actually gonna quote this. I think this really highlights the whole thread and is one of the biggest issues people have. The spacing of the content has not been great, and Broly's EZA being mid only highlights that. Um, Broly was better in the content spaced out a bit more. I think people would not have issues. Okay, that's what I think. I think that's a good summary. I think that's a good summary of what we read. This person just posted a GIF of a dry desert, Renses. And then two more comments. CJ coming in saying it's dry for a big celebration like worldwide download celebration. And remember that this is supposed to be a unification at the same time. It's not even being celebrated. That is a big merge that's been hyped for so long. You know, CJ has a good point here. Like for it being a sync, it should be hyped up a little bit more. That's a really good point, CJ. That's a really good point. And then Cloud 55 coming in. Sorry, that's my headset cutting off again. Cloud55 coming in saying trash is boring. I just don't agree, but I'm gonna give you a like anyway. I liked everybody's on here. So that's all the comments. Let's take a look at the quotes really quick. So Tapion, always, I just really appreciate the support, brother. You're always supporting me, and it just means the world. So tell them how you feelings. I did. Ethereal saying characters are amazing, but I don't count new characters or content. Fair, fair. Memorial Battle has been fun, plus the 3 Supreme Battle Spectacle stages. Could have done much better with the Easy A's, however. Agreed. We have enough movie characters to Easy A 2 per week. Agreed. Overall good, but needs to be better. So I feel like that's a fair criticism. That's a fair criticism overall. How many do we got here? Just a few. The biggest letdown. So AGGC, thank you Toriyama, says the biggest letdown for me so far is only one Easy A. They should have at least Easy A'd the Trunks, and that was on Broly's banner unit too. Agreed. Aside from that, the celebration has been okay. It could use a bit of spreading of content, but I know the celebration is going to get better in a week. Agreed. Oh, I apologize. That's my timer going off or something. Um, agreed there. No, hard to disagree with what you're saying. Oh, the homie Appel. Hey, Appel. Thanks for replying. That's awesome. Headlining units are amazing. Only one Easy A with no sub Easy A's kind of sucks. Not gonna lie. Very true. There's been a lot of new stages, but them being so weak makes it feel like nothing came out. That's yes. I think that you're hitting the nail on the head. I absolutely think that's the issue. The Easy A being mid, the content not being super hard, it's just making everything seem worse than it is. Content is there. I just wish it was a little harder. Understandable. Understandable. Cypher saying garbage. Mr. Smart 75 saying it started good and then died. So that's the community reaction. And this feels like this has been a lot of reactions that I've seen overall on X, Twitter, if you will. As a lot of people have been saying the same thing: a lack of content, mid EZA. The headliners. It seems like everyone does really like the headliners, so I think that is important. Overall, I don't know. It's tough. It really is tough. I think the celebration is better. After reading everyone's comments, I really think just to put a nice bow on it, I think the celebration is better than people think, but I don't blame them for feeling the way they feel. And Dokkan really has no one but to blame but themselves because it's pacing I feel like has been a consistent issue. Pacing has been a consistent issue with Dokkan for years, and they just never seem to quite get it right. And timing things and lining things up just never. I mean, look at the sync, for example. Look how horribly mismanaged the sync was. Horribly. You could have. I'm telling you, you could have hired someone from the community, and they would have done 100 times better job. And I really mean that. I really think you could have picked someone from the community, and they could have come up with a better plan. Like, I don't know why Dokkan is so resilient to getting feedback from content creators. I think some games go too far with getting feedback. I think some games treat content creators like gods and they shouldn't. But then I think there's times when games don't reach out at all when you could have a good partnership. And I think if Dokkan had a good partnership with some of the content creators and heard community voices, had a community outreach of some sort, like they do a good job of listening to the surveys. It does feel that way, but I don't know. They've always had a problem with pacing content, and I really think if you sum down this whole video, that the majority of the issues people had were the pacing of the content and Broly's EZA being mid and the overall lack of EZAs. I think those three things right there really contribute. And then I guess you could add a fourth, which is the new events being kind of easy. I personally, I think I would defend it and say it's okay to have a variety of events and it being easy or on the easier side isn't that big of a deal. But that's just me. So I could see it, other people not thinking that. But yeah, so that's been the community reaction, you guys. Let me know down in the comments how you're feeling. This was a really fun video to make. I really appreciate everyone's response. Thank you so much for it. It means a lot, and I can't wait for this video to go out and for you guys to watch it. So until next time, you guys, it's been Jumbo Shark 19. Have a good one.